So let's talk about the compiler. Pretty much what the compiler is going to do is it's going to take some high-level code, such as C++, and it's going to break it all the way down into machine code, which your computer reads. So there's multiple programming languages out there, but at the end of the day, they all break down to machine code because that's the only thing computers understand. Really, computers only understand zeros and ones, and a long series of them. It's not just a handful of them. So we're going to take... pretty much the process is you take this C++ and you put it into a compiler, which is this blue square, and then it pops out machine code, which is then given to the computer to execute. So your .exe is pretty much broke down into machine code in a sense. So we take our C++ file. This can include input, output, commands, pretty much anything that you write in C++. And then it's going to go into the preprocessor first. So our pound includes like IOStream that we did in Hello World and other libraries that you can pull in. It's going to preprocess those. It's also going to preprocess defines, which we haven't talked about, but you can define certain variables a certain way. That happens in the preprocessor. After that, it goes into the compiler and it takes every source file we have. So right now we've only been dealing with one source file, but you can have multiple CPP files working together that are broken up, and what it will do is it will make assembly code for each source file. There's no great way for me to explain assembly if you don't know it right now, but if you're curious, just Google assembly code and see what it's like. It's pretty much commands, kind of like what we do in C++, but it has a little bit more control on a lower level. And when I mean lower level, I mean closer to what the computer understands. So C++ is really easy for us because everything's written out. If I want to output something, I do cout, which stands for console out, which is what we put to our terminal right here. So when we cout something here, it's putting it to the console, which is here, and that's how we see it. Assembly code works a little bit on a lower scale, and it shifts information from registers and into other complex computer things. So I don't really want to get into detail, but just know that the compiler will then take every source file you have. So every CPP file that we have here. So say if we had 5 different CPP files, it would take every single one of those and make a single .o file, which stands for an object file. From there, it'll have the linker, which links all those .o files together. You can have errors in the linker. So compile errors is kind of what we saw yesterday, where it doesn't fully understand what we're trying to do. Linker errors can be sometimes where you over-define something. So you define it in one file, and then maybe in a different file, you define it again. That's where you'll get some linker errors. And then after all of this is linked together, it will convert it into machine code, and then that's what your computer understands.
You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I wanna burn all the bridges between us.